All right, so you found a group of people, you've written some songs, pretty pleased with them. Later on, something happens that you part ways with them, but they continue using music that you contributed to. Do you have a legal right to that music? Do they have a legal right to the music or the parts that you contributed? That's what we're going to tackle today. Ownership and composition works, and particularly focusing on split sheets and how to use these. So, the reason I bring this one up is because a friend of mine actually posed a question about this on Facebook last week. So, she did this post: if I told you that a band you are playing shows with stole my music and my lyrics, because I was previously in the band with one of their members, would you still continue to play shows with that band? So, this is kind of an interesting scenario, but all too common. Um, and of course, as people love to chime in and provide their 2 cents of what they believe the case is. Had one gentleman, I played in and quit several bands that went on to play songs that I wrote. The reality is, when you give the song to the band, it's the band's song. You shouldn't have given them the song if you feel it's yours. You co-wrote the song. So that's partially true. This is a common occurrence, and why I preach constantly with the artists that I work with. Anytime you're writing a song, anytime you're starting a band, you be very upfront with roles and responsibilities, splits, and contributions. But one of the easiest ways to do that, especially when it comes to songwriting, is having what are known as split sheets. Split sheets is a document that literally breaks down all the contributors to music, and at the end of it, signing it. If everyone is really true and honest with what they're wanting to contribute to the song and to the band, then there shouldn't be any issues with everyone agreeing to what those are up front. So I advise all artists that I work with, and even myself included in bands that I work in today, as soon as a song is written and recorded, I have everybody agree to the splits and record a split sheet, and everyone sign and date it. I actually have a split sheet template that is available on my From Amateur to Pro Music Skool community. And this is what a typical split sheet looks like. You have the song details, so your song title, any working titles or alternate titles, the date that it was written, and the copyright year. If you don't know the copyright year or you haven't done it yet, basically put the actual date or the year in which it was written. Because as soon as you have that recording or you have a group of songs, you should be copywriting those songs as soon as possible. The next section is going down the actual writers and ownership splits. So when you deal with a composition, the composition is technically broken into two parts. They are half of those parts as lyrics, the other half as music. When documenting those things, you put in your legal name, if you have a stage name or anything like that. You list who your PRO is. Is it ASCAP? Is it BMI? Is it C-SCAN? Then you put in your IPI CIA or CAE number. So that stands for Interested Parties Information, Composer, Author, and Publisher. So that's what that means. And then you put in the percentage. So if you are if you wrote all the lyrics, you put 100. If you wrote just a couple of lines here and there, but someone else did, you can kind of eyeball it or, come up with your best estimate. The main important part here is that all parties agree to it and that the percentage equals 100. And then the same thing for music. If someone contributed to the composition, added a riff, put a keyboard line, whatever the case may be, there's aspects to the music side of it. And again, it should equal out to 100%. Now, the next part, so I said that music is split, the composition is split between music and lyrics. Well, it is split again when it comes to composition. There is what is known as the publisher share. And similarly, a publisher, it basically works the same way on music and lyrics. It's based off of who the individual composers are for the song. So here in this, each writer controls and administers their own publishing. This is pretty common, especially in independent musicians. And there's ways that you can control your own publishing using other entities like songtrust.com, and I'll go into that at a later video. Otherwise, you just put publishing will be administered by, and you give the entity name. But each of the writers, you have to put in the writer, who their publishing entity is, who the publisher PRO is, and what the publisher's percentage is. So again, the publisher's percentage should match the percentage up here. This part can get a little bit crazier, but basically, like if you have one person writing it, it's pretty obvious. It's 100%. If you had one person that is 100% lyrics and one person 100% music, then the publisher share between those two, it's 50-50. But basically, you take the whole percentage. So if you've got multiple contributors doing multiple parts to it, basically breaking down what it, thinking of the song as 100% without looking at it music and lyrics combined, figuring out that percentage and putting that here in that section as well. Designation administration. So here, if you decide, one designated writer may register this work with PROs on all writers' behalf. So like for instance, whenever I would register songs for my previous band Fleischkrieg, I was the one that would go and list it all. I would go into the accounts and I would put in all the information. Basically, this is just a way of saying the person who is responsible or agrees to go and report the information for PROs and for the copyrights. And then lastly, you've got your agreements and confirmations. The ownership splits listed above are accurate and agreed upon. Total ownership equals 100%. The song is an original work and contains no unauthorized samples. And any changes to the agreement must be made in writing and signed by all parties. And then here, print, sign, date. And there you have that documentation up front that you have available. Again, using something like split sheets is invaluable on having those tough conversations right off the bat and not having any disagreements, and also helping eliminate unwanted lawsuits or anything like that in the future. Using something like this just puts everyone on the same page, everyone agrees to it, and it's a legal binding document. If you like what you saw, like, subscribe, post in a comment, share an experience that you've had where there's been a disagreement on the ownership, or if you have any questions on how you could dispute, or if you have any clarifying questions around composition and song ownership. And if you need more assistance, reach out to me on darkstreammusicmanagement.com or join our From Amateur to Pro Music Skool community. With the link to both of those are in the description below. Thank you so much.